All right. Thank you for joining us here on United Goalkeeping Alliances, the Goalkeeper Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Art. And today we have Coach Greg Kenney talking to us a little bit about his presentation, a little bit about his history, and how he got into coaching. So, Coach Greg, please tell us about you. Where are you and what do you do?
Well, Art, thanks for having me. I feel kind of famous here to be with this huge group of goalkeepers. I didn't really even think there were that many goalkeepers on the planet, but it's a wonderful group. It's great, all the different ideas. It's just been wonderful to be part of it. This weekend, last weekend, we did our session or whatever you call it was on positioning. So it was fun. There was a lot of interesting young goalkeepers. Some of the older goalkeepers really had a lot of great information to share. I learned a lot, hearing some of their ideas. Uh, I grew up playing. I pretty much grew up playing every sport, so I don't. I just and most of them required tracking a ball, be it basketball, baseball, football, tennis. I guess wrestling and what other doesn't really have a ball? Swimming. I wasn't much of a swimmer,
Swimming.
but um, the ability to track a ball was always something that came pretty simple to me. So that's why I kind of leaned towards goalkeeping. How I got involved with United Goalkeeper Alliance was Eric and I chatted at one of the soccer conventions, and he had expressed that he had this idea, and I was like, "That sounds wonderful." So that's kind of backwards how I got here. But yeah, that was the connection was with Eric, and my allegiance to goalkeeping had nothing to do with playing goalkeeper. It had to do with the fun I found in catching a ball or throwing a ball or kicking a ball. And they seem to work all right when you play goalkeeper. So here I am.
No, that's fantastic. And I'm wondering a little bit about, how that transition, how you made that transition from player to coach. How did that go? When did you get into coaching?
That's a great question. My I had two, more than two coaches, but I had a wonderful coach in high school, James Baxter, who's from actually our area down in Lower Marion and Upper Marion, since we are from the same neck of the woods. Um, and one of the things was when we were in high school, we actually also on the weekends helped it was called the King of Prussia Prussians, and the high school players would help with the youth players. So I've been, now that I think about it, coaching longer than I realized. So that's kind of where it started. Then I had a wonderful coach in college, Coach Walter Barr, who is just a renowned coach from Penn State, and then after I finished playing, my playing career kind of ended a little quicker than I would have liked. But after I played a few years professionally and then had major wrist surgery. So as I tell my friends, I was a very good two-handed goalkeeper. When I became a one-handed goalkeeper, I was not quite as useful. So I ended up just um, kind of getting more into coaching and playing recreational soccer and other sports. So that's kind of the progress from a player to a coach and a teacher.
And so what has helped shape your kind of like your methods, right? What had helped, what has helped you decide like what's important to teach, how you teach it, the technical piece, the tactical piece. What's important to you when you're coaching or training a goalkeeper?
You know what? I think my background in terms of playing so many sports, I've had a couple moments that really, um, like I remember them. I had a coach, and this was when I was pretty far along in my career. I think I was a junior at Penn State, and I was at a the National Sports Festival or something. But it was something relatively high level, and I was pretty confident. I was a good shot stopper, but I would move with my feet very wide apart. I would bend very low. I had, complete faith that the balls were not going to go through my legs. And the funny thing was, I actually said that to the coach. I said, if you're worried about balls going through my legs, you should probably put the other guy in. Because he really wanted, he was, I forget where he's from. I think he was from England, or he was not an American coach. And they were used to, like, where you'd put your feet together or take one knee and put your knee down. And I was like, I played baseball for 30 years, and I certainly baseballs have gone through my legs, but I'm paralyzed to try and move that way. So that kind of, and we had a pleasant discussion about it. He's like, well, I never played any baseball. So the discussion was fine, but it kind of freed me up to be more flexible in how I taught things. So that was really an impactful one. The other was, and I remember I was at Dr. Macknick's camp, Joe Macknick, who's again a wonderful, wonderful influence in my life in terms of my goalkeeper training. And we had a European coach and a South American coach, and the European coach was teaching that, high ball, high hand, and
Hmm.
the European coach was teaching, kind of low hand. And and then I thought about it, and I play a ton of basketball, and I said, you know what, I'm going to be European when I go. I'm left-handed, so I'm going to be Latin American when I go to my left, and I'm going to be European when I go to the right. So I would just tip the ball whenever possible with my left hand.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think that's fine. You know what I mean? And it worked very well for me. My right hand was never as coordinated as my left hand, and I thought it made perfect sense. So it was another one where I just kind of realized that there's some fundamental stuff. You can't be standing straight up with your feet next to each other and hope to move well. You can't catch every ball against your body, or it's going to bounce off you too much. There's some fundamentals that you just can kind of go over and say, you might want to try this, Art. The ball hitting you square in the chest going 60 miles an hour, you might want to get it with your hands first. Call me crazy. So there is some fundamental stuff, but I also think there's some flexibility within those fundamentals that may vary from athlete to athlete. So not that I'm not that I don't have some very serious feelings about technique, but I do have a little bit of latitude left and right.
No, and that makes sense because from my perspective, right? I mean, we all come in different shapes and sizes, so we can't all necessarily move the same way and save the ball the same way. So we do have to have that flexibility, and as coaches, we need to be able to teach, um, this kind of the same thing or same concept in various ways, right? And if it's not beneficial to the player, then we do have to change it up, and we do have to figure out what's more beneficial to the player, which technique, what decision,
Mm-hmm.
what have you. So, no, that's awesome that you stay flexible with your teaching. Now, talk to us. I know you started earlier, but talk to us a little bit about the presentation that you just had with regards to position, getting set, the ball line, all that good stuff. Why is that important?
Well, I think I think the this is kind of may not make any sense, or it will make ton of sense. Is they brought some? There was a uh, I don't know what you call it, not a clinic, but like a seminar where they brought talented mechanics
Mm.
into work on some type of thing, in NASA or something, NASA. And what they did was, instead of letting everyone get to work, they first got them on the same page just with the vocabulary. Their languages are not going to be perfect, but at least if they knew the vocabulary with regard to the tools was consistent, now our conversation is going to at least start on the same path. And that's the one thing that I think we brought in the early part of it, is like the ball line, the recovery line, the goalkeeper's arc. those type of just vocabulary to get people on the same page, because oftentimes you'll be having a conversation and you'll be like, we're talking right past each other. You're talking about ball line as I think of the ball line, the spot from the center of the goal to the ball. Others are thinking the ball line is the flight of the ball. And if we're arguing over that and getting animated, and we're not even, we're basically talking about two different things. So the vote just to get the goalkeepers on the same page vocabulary wise, I think is an important thing. Because then we can argue at least about the same thing. If that makes sense. I don't know if that made any sense or not, but
No, that makes sense. And now, do you think that it's important to have that vocabulary across not only the goalkeepers, but like throughout the team, right? When we go through the different lines, is that something a team should do, a club should provide, a coach should provide? What are your thoughts on that?
well, I think when you get like for example, I have a wonderful group of goalkeepers at St. Francis, and that was one of the first things we went over. I kind of said, okay, this is what we're going to work on. I said, I'm going to show you everything right now that we're going to work on. We're going to work on stance, like an athletic position. We're going to work on collections, a front smother. We're going to work on collapse dive, and we're going to work on extension dive. And we are working from the body out. The body out. And that was a change. They were like, what do you mean by that? I said, we're not worried about the goalposts. The goalposts are too far away. We're going to work on how to increase the range of our front smother. If the only ball you can front smother is a foot to your left or right, you are already utilizing your collapse dive for balls that are only 3 feet from the center of the goal. My feeling is that if you improve your ability to front smother and you do that well, the footwork is identical to what you would do in a collapse dive. And now they get better and better and better at front smothers. We've increased their range in the center of the goal, that they are now fully behind the ball. And now, instead of us diving for balls that are 3 feet away, we're front smothering balls that are 3 to 6 feet away. And now we're starting to collapse dive for balls that are 5 to 9 feet away. And what's happened is we've now, again, depending on the athleticism of the goalkeeper, a long, stretchy, athletic goalkeeper, their range of front smothering will be slightly larger just because of their makeup. But the other goalies' range will also improve, but they'll be nice and compact. They'll be athletic. So when their extension dive starts, they're basically just moving to the next level. Not, okay, Art, at 6 feet, you're going to start diving, and at 6 feet, I'm going to start diving. Well, Art, you're taller, more athletic, quicker than I am. I am, I can't start diving there. That's miles away. So, what we kind of did was create a vocabulary that had to do from your body out. And it really, because we have a 6'1" goalkeeper and we have a 5'4" goalkeeper. So it really helped our group. I don't know if I babbled too long there, but
No.
hopefully it made sense.
No, and I think, to me, what you're saying, first of all, like, to a kid, it might be like, well, I want to dive, right? Because diving's sexy. So I don't want
Yeah.
to do a front smother. I want to dive, right?
Yep.
But why is it important to know that you can save yourself and improve, right? You can improve your technique, improve your range, if you just do the right thing, if you just make the right decision, if you're just using the right technique,
Mm-hmm.
rather than relying on, luck. Luck.
Luck and length.
And a lot of times it does take a little bit of convincing on the coach's part to a player to say, hey, this is why you need to do this, and this is how, this is how you should do it, and this is
Mm-hmm.
why.
Yeah.
um Now, do you feel that players need to know that why right away? Do players ask that?
They really do. I honestly have spent a lot of time untraining goalkeepers because we'll go to, and you hit it spot on, is diving is sexy. Um, what happens is the goalkeepers create a dive that saves the shot. It should be the other way around. The ball tells you what you are doing, not the the ball tells you what you were doing, where it is, not in advance. I'm saying, Art, dive for this, and I shoot it 2 feet away from you, and then you do these crazy, I don't know what you call them, where they throw their legs out to the side and land a foot away. I'm like, how did you dive 1 foot? I said, I don't. I said, I can't dive 1 foot, but you have figured it out, and those are that's one of the type of things I think when you rush along, when it's nice. I have the goalkeepers for a whole season, but in an hour session, if you're supposed to be working on diving, and the balls you are hitting are not dive worthy, now you're having the goalkeeper work on a fictitious skill. So that's why I really like to really focus on the footwork for a collapse dive is the same footwork that you would use for the footwork for a front smother is the same footwork that you would use for a collapse dive, and it's the same primary footwork that you would do for an extension dive, and all you're doing is adding on. You don't have a footwork that you use for a collapse dive and footwork that you use for an extension dive and footwork that you use for a front smother.
Mm.
You pick up a pencil, you write an A the same way as you write a B, the same way as you write a C in terms of how you hold the pencil. The difference is in how you move the pencil, not in how you hold it. So I kind of like that as, good wide base, low center of gravity. You can always explode up. It's easy to use a compact body to extend up. It's difficult to get a extended body to dive into the ground.
Yeah.
So I'm always low. I always believe lower and wider, lower and wider. It's easy to push off the ground. But again, I'm coming from 6'2",
Yeah.
long arms, long legs. So that's where, again, we need a little flexibility.
Yeah, no, I,
Yeah.
I agree. No, I agree. And I love the way that you explained it all. Uh, because I think that there's a lot of value when coaches do take the time to explain something
Mhm.
rather than just do it.
Yeah.
This is what I'm at. I'm telling you to do it just because I'm telling you to do it, you know?
Right.
There's a lot of value in I don't want to say it this way, but showing your work, right? Here's the why, right?
Yeah.
And everything at the end of the day, a lot of it is um subjective. Some things are objective, like there are some things that are backed by science and data
Yeah.
and math and all that other stuff. But a lot of the coaching has to do with our own experiences and our own beliefs and thoughts and practices and whatnot. So no, I feel that it's wonderful that you can explain what your thought process is. um why did you join the United Goalkeeping Alliance? What was the attraction? How did you join? Why did you join?
Well, Eric and I have been buddies for a long time, and I am not that I'm a contrarian, but I really like the one of this. You're going to crack up on this. A goalkeeper should catch a cross at
The top, at the highest point.
absolutely incorrect. It's absolutely incorrect, right? You want to catch the ball with bent arms comfortably above your forehead. You wouldn't you don't
All right, like this. Yeah,
Right. You don't catch it at its highest point.
fair.
That's wrong. If you catch it at its highest point and I'm stretching my arms up and I misjudge it by 2 inches, it tips my fingers and falls behind me.
Yeah,
You should be catching the ball with your arms with we can decide how much the bend should be. Let's say it's 35 degrees or something, or whatever the number. I'm not going to, we'll say 70 degrees so that you can adjust. But catch a ball at its highest point, right? Um, and I would play, and I played a lot of sports, and I'm like, I don't try and catch a football at its highest point. I I go and get it. I go and get it where my hands are bent and I, I, I go get the ball. I don't.
Right.
So that one bothered me. Um, when you're playing goalie, you should get your blank to the ball.
Yeah.
Your
Period.
hands or your hand or your head.
Your hands.
Your head. Your head. Right. If I if I reach for the ball,
Yeah.
okay, if I reach for the ball, if I'm playing baseball and you hit the ball and the first thing I do is stick my arm out and start running after it, I'm not a very good baseball player.
No.
If I
Right.
play tennis and you hit a ball and the first thing I do is reach out and start chasing after it, I'm not a very good tennis player.
Right.
Okay. If I'm a boxer and I run after you with my arms stretched out, I'm not a very good boxer. And the same is true in the goal. Get your head as close to the ball as you can. Art, I promise you, you're not going to let it hit you in the face. You're going to catch it.
Right.
And now, once you've worked on getting your head close to the ball, you now will take those bent arms and you can now, since your arms are bent, you now can push the ball away. You can't push a ball away with a straight arm. It just bends
Right.
your fingers back. And you know what you say? You say, Greg, good try. You're not playing the second half. We're letting the other guy go in.
You're
Yes,
right.
you tried. You reached as far as you can. You don't reach. You need to stay compact and powerful for as long as you can. And then the last thing you do is reach. Um, but I would have these conversations, and people are like, no, you got to hands to the ball. No, get your head to the ball. You're not going to let it hit you in the face. I promise you. All right. If you would you forget to put your hands up?
Yeah, and you know what? And well, here's the thing, right? With what you're saying, with that, with the hands up. One of the things that I know that I have to teach with the hands up when the hands are all the way up is how to come down, because there is a huge potential for that ball to pop out of your hands because you're bringing it down. So there's a big potential for it popping somewhere. Um,
If you're at full stretch, you
if you're at
magnify it.
if you're at full stretch,
You
where you're saying, well, don't be at full stretch, keep your elbows bent, get up, get your head, kind of get your head behind it. Now there's balance, there's control, there's strength,
mhm.
all those things we asked the strikers, the dribblers, the midfielders, the players to do, which is basically to stay compact, keep the body,
Yeah.
center of gravity, all that stuff applies to the goal.
Yes.
So, so
All those standard things about moving like an athlete are all they all apply to the goal.
yeah, no, that's fantastic. No,
Yeah.
I love that breakdown. So ultimately, what was the attraction to the unite with the discussions that you were having and being a contrarian? What
Yeah.
was? Go ahead.
well well Eric is a wonderful listener, and we talked about what we actually had a conversation the other day, and it was about the teacher that's the easiest is the one that tells you this is the answer. When the test comes up, blah 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 blah, the answer is blah. Okay, that's not the teacher you learn the most from. The teacher that you learn the most from is the one that says, I don't know exactly how it's going to finish out. You must try this, could be that, and forces you to think and look at things. And I would chat with Eric, and we actually were conversing the other day about um, stance. And I'm like,
Okay.
goalkeeper should be off the ground when the ball is hit. And he was like, what? I said, no, I said, your feet should be off the ground. And we kind of went back and forth. I said, really? I said, yeah. And he was great. He was a wonderful listener. And he said, yeah, I don't play a ton of tennis, but I played enough tennis. And I watch tennis players. I watch third basemen. Um, I watch elite goalkeepers. And when the ball is being hit, they're light. Some of them are floating. And we really had a deep conversation about that, and catching at its highest point. And I have uh, um, I have an invention that I made to help goalies catch with both hands, because I find the catching unit disintegrates too quickly. You reach with your hand and hope your other hand catches up, when in actuality what you should do is your catching unit should stay intact, and
Yeah.
then the last thing you do is your catching unit breaks up and you reach and deflect the ball away. And so we would have really fun conversations, generally with a beer in front of us, and go from there. So that's what prompted me to get on board.
Yeah, and for any coach, any goalkeeper coach who's out there, um, uh, y- y- we in the group chat get into some interesting conversations.
Yes.
We don't agree on everything. Like it's not like, oh, Art, your shirt's blue today. Well, no, it's not. It's teal. Well, no, it's sky blue. Well, no, it's navy blue. And and the fun part about it is not only do we have a lot of coaches, we have a lot of knowledgeable coaches.
Yeah.
Right, so we can get into really good intense conversations, but they're also intelligent, and they also prove to kind of sort of test your test your principles, test your values, just to see, just to get you to have that open mindset, right?
Yeah.
That growth mindset versus that fixed one where
Hmm.
my way is the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't exist with this group.
Hmm.
So, Greg, I appreciate you being on. Thank you. If anybody wants to get in touch with you, do you have a social media handle, Instagram or Twitter or anything?
Uh, I do actually. I wish I had it memorized. Are you going to put them on at the end of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
thing?
yeah, yeah. We'll put them on. We'll put them on at the end, and they'll also be in the description of the podcast and on YouTube. So we will put your handles up there. Um, but Greg, as we wrap this up, is there anything you want to leave us with?
Yeah. Keep the ball in front of you. That's a general good rule. Is move your feet, keep the ball in front of you, and make the saves you're supposed to.
Yeah, no, I agree. Thank you, Coach Greg. And if you didn't catch it this weekend, make sure you catch his presentation. It's available for all the registered members of the United Goalkeeping Alliance. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Eric. Bye bye.